Okay, so when you're ready, you can open your eyes, come back into the screen. So whatever I was sending out for the text for tonight, I at the last moment decided to completely change it. So tonight's meeting will be quite different and rather unusual. But anyway, let's see who had who would like to share what happened during the meditation. So if you'd like to share, oh, I'm not on the screen anymore. Ha ha ha. Okay, here I am. So you just wave your hand if you'd like to share what happened during the meditation. Okay, good old Saraswati.
Yeah, so
What?
during the meditation, I focused not really on much. I felt very relaxed, and yeah, it opened some feelings like it was like sparkling, but not really, yeah, not really being bound to it. It's more like, yeah, it was just there.
Okay. So I want everybody, just stay still, Saraswati. I want everybody to look at her eyes. So these are the how your eyes look if you're not thinking very much. So look at her eyes. These are the eyes either on drugs, which she's not, or not so many thoughts. As you have a mind full of thoughts, your eyes, if you look in the mirror, you can see that your eyes are much more colorful and so on. But all that colorfulness is actually because of the thoughts. When you become empty and you can see her eyes, your eyes become completely black. Completely black. This is the eyes of somebody who's pretty empty. Okay. And the reason why every week I tell you don't try to change anything because of a secret, which I'm kind of revealing tonight. The fact is, society has prepared us with an idea that we're a somebody who has all kinds of thoughts. And we identify with these thoughts. And we identify with this body. And we don't know that that's not true because nobody ever told us. Tonight, I'm going to tell you and I'm going to illustrate it. And it will probably, for many of you, you'll end up thinking John David's just a silly old man. So I'm definitely a silly old man. Look at my eyes. You see, they're also empty. Look, nothing there. You see? Who's talking? Who's talking? No idea at all. I have no idea who's talking, right? I'm a madman. I'm not thinking. It's just talk. It's just coming from where? Where does it come from? All this talk. Aha. Aha. We find out tonight. Aha. Okay. Anybody else dare to share? Good, Saraswati. Come on, come on. There's 30 of you. One of you can volunteer now. Oh, you're all asleep. Ah, it's not a good night to be asleep. Okay, Apsara, very good. Okay.
I don't
So
know
what
if I
happened?
can you hear
Yeah,
me?
we can hear you and see you with your
Oh,
headphones.
yeah, today I have a lot of noise. I mean, a lot of thoughts. Uh,
Actually,
Yeah,
it might be quite clever to call them noise, actually, because when we talk about thoughts, most of us are so conditioned that we think all these thoughts are something real. And actually, the truth is, all these thoughts can be put in the garbage because it's just rubbish. So when you say noise, that's a much better way of expressing it, I think.
yeah. It's like when I'm here, I feel like the first time I was in Denia, I went there for 4 days and I stayed 10. It's like I don't want to leave, right? But then all the things that I have in, outside, they come, right? And it's like driving myself crazy in a way of, yeah, like,
It's not maybe making yourself crazy, darling, but actually you make yourself crazy. I know you quite well, and most of the time you're crazy, actually. Believing yourself to be normal, but you're actually not normal. You're actually like every other human being almost. 99% of humanity on this planet is crazy, but they don't know they're crazy. Because unfortunately, nobody ever tells people the truth of who we are. And who we are is not mind and thoughts. Oh, now I've lost my thing. Ha ha ha. Okay, I'm very passionate tonight. I warned you in the beginning. Oh, goes the nail on. Okay, so calling the thoughts noise is quite good because it's very easy to identify with these thoughts, which is a waste of time. And therefore, when I say in the meditation, can you come and help me? Because I can't really hear properly. Something happened, I don't know. Because there isn't anybody to to change something. I don't know. Suddenly it's gone. What happened? Ah. Hello, hello. Oh, that's better. Okay, now I'm okay. Good. So, yeah, the reason why I say don't try to change anything is the only thing you can do if you want to change something is one part of your mind will be fighting with the other part. So you have some thoughts and you think, oh, I can't stand all these thoughts. I want to be spiritual. I want to be quiet. Let me get rid of these thoughts. And then another part of your mind starts fighting with the other part of your mind. This doesn't help anything. So if you want to get rid of thoughts, you just simply sit quietly. And if you're a beginner, you can close your eyes. It makes it much easier if you close your eyes and you just sit quietly with your eyes closed, and you will find in 15 or 20 minutes, depending on your life, you will become quiet by itself, you see. So it's very easy to become quiet. You just sit and close your eyes. Don't think. Don't try to change anything. Just accept whatever is going on. You may feel sad. You may feel happy. These are two of many kinds of emotions, but that's not who you are. So tonight we're going to maybe find out who we really are, and let's see if somebody else would like to share. Somebody else wave their hands. Come along, come along. Okay, Brett, he's a good, reliable English bloke. Okay, Brett, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you, John. It was quite interesting tonight. I was quite peaceful to start off with, and a couple of thoughts came in, but I was quite surprised at how quickly they dissolved.
Right.
Um, and then I just returned to the quiet again.
My
Which is,
advice to you, Brett, is you play your guitar more and think
yeah,
less.
yeah, that's what I do. When I write my songs, I don't think about them. I just the melody comes into my head spontaneously. So I play the melody and then I just start singing, and the words, I don't think about the words, they just come out. And then I either record it or write it down. And that's how I write songs. I don't think about them too much because I think if you get caught up in
Stop, stop, stop. You're starting to talk too much, you see. So
right.
I see you've got 5 guitars behind you.
Yeah.
So next Tuesday, no, we're not having a meeting next Tuesday. The Tuesday after, I
Okay.
would like you to start the meeting playing one of your songs. How about that?
Okay. Okay.
And don't forget when you come to India to bring your guitar with you.
Yes, I
Okay?
will. Yeah, I will.
Right. We'll probably have a concert in Ramana Ashram and you can
Yeah,
play
yeah,
your guitar.
yeah.
Okay. Good, good. Okay. Gallery. Okay, maybe one more person. Okay, Valentine. Very good. Okay. So how was the meditation for you?
Was it was much better than the Zoom meetings I had at home. Of course, I'm now for 1.5 days here in the community and also in the meditations during the day. Yeah, it was easier to come into silence and
Right.
yeah, so
Why do you think that is, actually?
it's a
Come
rhetorical
on, boy.
a rhetorical question.
Well, I
Yeah,
can
of
tell you,
course.
of course, but you probably could tell me.
Yeah,
You tell me.
it's of course what you said in the last day of Dania, that the frequency is different here. And in my place, it's a different frequency. It's easier to, yeah.
Right,
So this
right.
is the miracle behind.
Yeah, yeah. You've only been here 1.5 days. You know, there are people living here for 10 years, you know, just imagine their frequency, you see.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, this is what we're going to talk about tonight, actually, that we're going to talk about the energy, because actually, spirituality is also about energy. It's not really about knowledge, wisdom, all that kind of mindy stuff. It's actually about energy. And tonight, I'm going to try to give you almost a shocking example of somebody who I think has become self-realized. I can't actually judge that because I've never met this person, and it happened about 80 years ago. So it's, of course, difficult to judge. But tonight I'm going to introduce a bit complicated thing. So, as many of you know, 2 years ago, our community published this book, or Open Sky Press, let's say, which is our publishing company. We published this book. And this book is actually the teachings of this man, Ramana Maharshi, who many people would point to and say he is the greatest teacher for the last maybe 100 years, something like that. You know? So I'm now working on a second book. We're actually planning 3 books. This first book was talking mostly about self-realization, and it was a selection from an old manuscript that has shown up after 80 years. You can download it from Amazon if you really would like to have the whole manuscript. It's very difficult to read because it has never been formatted. So when I first saw this manuscript 3 or 4 years ago, I was so touched that I decided I must format this script. And then with some friends here in the community together, we selected interesting teachings from Ramana Maharshi, and we put this book together. And right now, I'm in the middle of the second book, which is going to be called Vishara, which means self-inquiry. And most of you know, or many of you know, that Ramana Maharshi is best known for self-inquiry. But actually, he was also teaching something we can call surrender. And in fact, tonight is going to be about surrender, because most of you who are regularly my students, you know that I talk quite a lot about self-inquiry, but not so much about surrender, because actually surrender is very difficult to talk about. But tonight I'm going to try, because 2 days ago, while I was busy editing this text for the new book, I made a discovery. What I discovered was that I got the translation of some Tamil words, which Bhagavan had been talking to a young man who had been living in his ashram for 6 months. And when this young man came on the first day to the ashram, he looked into, I called him Ramana Maharshi because you know his name as Ramana Maharshi. So he looked into Ramana Maharshi's eyes, and something very profound happened between them. And in that moment, instantaneously, that young man completely surrendered in love to Ramana Maharshi. The story actually starts a few months before, when this young man was living with his family. He got ill, and his family gave him some particular medicine, which just happened by chance, chance, maybe destiny. He got some medicine given to him from a temple in Tiruvannamalai, which happens to be where Ramana Maharshi was living at that time. So they gave him this medicine, but he didn't want to take the medicine, so he didn't take it. They thought, his family around him thought he was taking the medicine, but he didn't take it. And then they discovered this, and they were very shocked. And they said, well, anyway, we'd like to take you to that temple because you seem to have become better anyway. And we'd like to take you to this temple where you can thank the people in the temple. And he'd had a dream. And in this dream, he saw a man wearing a loincloth walking on a mountain. When his family drove him to Tiruvannamalai, which is where I have my retreat in January every year since the last 22 years, there is a mountain which the Indians consider to be Shiva. So it's a very powerful place. And when he saw this mountain, he was completely shocked because he saw that this mountain, he'd already seen it in the dream where he saw a man with a loincloth. So in the town, they asked, about the man, because he realized must be the place. This is the mountain I saw in my dream. So very likely that man is here somewhere. And they found out that it was Ramana Maharshi, and that he didn't live on the mountain anymore because some people had built an ashram for him. So they went to the ashram. This was the 5th of July in 1936, a few years before the World War. And he came into the ashram. He came into the room where Ramana Maharshi was sitting with his disciples. And as I said just a few minutes ago, their eyes made contact. And in that moment, without any thoughts, that's very important, without any thoughts, in that moment, this young man disappeared. He disappeared. He completely surrendered in that moment. And he felt tremendous love, tremendous love. And he told his parents, I don't want to leave. When they had offered to take him to the mountain, he said, I don't want to go there. And if there's any silly swamis there, I don't want to say hello to them. And I won't bow down to anybody. But actually, he did. When he saw Ramana Maharshi and they had this eye contact, he completely surrendered. And he told his family, I don't want to leave. So this was a kind of drama. But finally, the family said, okay, you can stay for 6 months. And they arranged a room in the town for him. And then they left him for 6 months. And basically, every day for the next 6 months, he came to the ashram very early in the morning, sat with Bhagavan in his meeting all day long. And then in the evening, he would quite late go back to his apartment. And during the day, he'd written notes. He'd written notes about what was spoken by Ramana. At that time, many Western people were coming just before the war. There'd been a book which alerted Western people to the power of Ramana Maharshi. So many Westerners were showing up, and he recorded the dialogues between Ramana and these spiritual seekers. And this is what the manuscript is. When I found this manuscript on Amazon, a friend told me, when I found this 2 years ago, I realized that this material was a treasure, great treasure. And so I spent about a year to organize all that material and select and make the book. And now, along with the people in Open Sky Press living in the community, we're now working on a second book, which is, as I say, called Vishara, Self-Enquiry. And the third book we'll bring out next year is called Surrender. But tonight, by chance, I want to talk about this Gathapati. So this young man was about in his early 20s. His name was Gathapati. And after he came to Bhagavan and stayed there 6 months, he started to write a diary. He's clear from this diary that he and Ramana were very closely connected. He was completely a devotee. He was completely, if you like, in love, but not the love that we talk about here in Europe. None of this boy meets girl kind of candlelight dinner, chocolates and flour kind of love. Nothing like that. This love that I'm talking about and he experienced is a deep drop inside us where our heart opens and we come down even deeper than the heart to our being. When we come down to our being, if we've done certain work in clearing away the thoughts, which can take a number of years, I would say, for most people, because we're so much conditioned by these thoughts. These thoughts are not my thoughts. Most people are living with thoughts that have been projected into them by loving parents, by loving brothers and sisters, by the uncle, by the aunt, by friends, by the school teacher, by the boss in the office, and just by the whole energy of the modern society. And unfortunately, nobody has told you that this is all illusion. Illusion. So tonight we're going to talk about what is really, really true. And also, I have tonight one special student who's in my Sangha group. She knows who she is, but I'm not going to give her name. I don't want to embarrass her. But this person is much loved by John David. And she's just decided to go off and do some kind of training, ha, ha, ha. Train her mind a bit more to be in her mind. This is a very sad, terrible sabotage this woman is doing, because actually she has the potential to become free. She has that potential, but because she does therapy work, she's just decided to quit working with John David, and she decided to become a bit more in her mind and do a special training, because then she says she can teach people just a bit better. What she doesn't realize, she's completely sabotaging our whole life. And my challenge to you, I don't want to give your name. My challenge to you is to get in your car in the next few days and come here for 2 days and meet me. Okay, that's my challenge to you. And that email you wrote me, 2 pages or 3 pages of writing, I couldn't even read it. I'm very sorry to say I couldn't read it. So this is my way of answering you. I couldn't read your mind email. Lots of thank you, thank you, thank you. And at the end of it, goodbye. Ha, ha, ha. You're not leaving. You're not leaving. Okay, so what I want to go into a bit in detail is that on the last day, so this man could stay for 6 months. And after about 5 months, he got a letter from his auntie. This is a typical Indian situation. And this letter was telling him that they'd found a wife for him and that he should leave the ashram as they had agreed after 6 months. And he should come back home and he should marry this lady that they had found for him, who was somebody that he was a bit familiar with. So this was shock horror for him because he had decided that he would always stay in the ashram because he was so devoted to Ramana Maharshi. And he couldn't even imagine going anywhere else. So there was a meeting, which will be in the next book. We're putting it in the next book. Actually, you can find it in this book. If it touches you, in the back of this book, you can find this story about what happened that made him leave the ashram when he didn't want to leave. So it's a very beautiful thing because he was very surrendered to Bhagwan. And so what happened was there was a meeting. And at this meeting, he read out this letter, and he was hoping that Ramana Maharshi would say to him, stay here, don't go and get married. That's what he was hoping, you see. But he didn't do that. And they discussed and talked and talked. And in the end, he understood that in his destiny and in his devotion and in his lack of mindy stuff, he just would follow what he's been asked to do. And so he accepted the fact that he would have to leave the ashram, even though he didn't want to leave the ashram. It's a bit like John David. I've been living in Germany for 20 years. I never wanted to live here. But it's not about Germany. I just didn't want to live here. I would have had a little bit more sun and various other things. You know? But sometimes we have to follow our destiny, you see. Okay, so on that last day, it was the 31st of December in 1936. So in the morning, the meeting room was open. He came in and he indicated to Bhagwan that he would like to say goodbye, have a sort of goodbye meeting. And this was a little bit unusual, but Bhagwan wrote him a little secret message saying, come in the afternoon, come in the afternoon. And in the afternoon, normally the meeting room was closed because they wanted Bhagwan to have a kind of rest in the afternoon. But he wrote him a note, come in the afternoon. Okay, so now I'm going to read because I want you to really try to feel what happened, because what happened that afternoon is probably the moment that this young man became self-realized. Maybe you can feel it, maybe you can't feel it. I didn't know this at all until 2 days ago when I was working on the editing the material, and I had just got from India the translation of some Tamil words which Bhagwan had spoken to this young man on that afternoon. So when I translated these and put them into the text, I got a shock because immediately it felt to me as if something very profound happened between this young, maybe 20-something-year-old guy and Bhagwan. And he would have been about 56 years old at that time. Very powerful. He was very powerful in those days. Huge energy field around him. People just loved him to bits. Very unusual man because he was more or less naked. His whole life, he was just naked with a little loincloth, modesty cloth, you can call it. And most of the time, he lived in a very, very simple way. And he was very available to anybody who wanted to come and talk to him. So anyway, on that afternoon, this is from Gathapati's material. So this is his own writing. At noon, I enter the Jubilee Hall. The attendant seems to be expecting me. I may cry a few times. Someone else tries to follow me inside, but he's promptly stopped by the attendant. Sri Bhagavan looked at me with a tenderness that I can never describe. What? He asks. I look at him with a pain I do not understand. I said to Bhagavan, I feel nervous after what Bhagavan told me yesterday, because it happened that the day before, Bhagavan was talking about his death, right? Well, not particularly his death. He was talking about death, which also included his death, because Bhagavan's teaching is very clear. We think we're the body, and of course the body is going to die. Everybody's body goes for 60 years, 80 years, 90, maybe 100 years now coming up. We're going to live for longer, apparently. So the body goes for, let's say, from 60, 70 to 100 years, but that is not who we are. So we're not the body, we're not the thoughts. So what are we? Okay. So he said, I'm feeling nervous after what one bag told me yesterday, because he's so surrendered to Bhagavan. He's so devoted. He's so in love with Bhagavan, right? In a very, very deep way. So his biggest fear was touch the day before, because Bhagavan was talking about the possibility that, like everybody else, he could die. And this young man was completely devoted to him. And any idea of Bhagavan dying was such a shock to him. And then Bhagavan asked him, what is it that you mean by Bhagavan, right? Because, of course, in that moment, he saw that this young man was identified with the body of Bhagavan. He was in love with his body, but Bhagavan never saw himself as a body or as a mind. So he says, what is meant by Bhagavan? And this young man says, pardon, but you. He sighs and motions for the attendant to leave the room. Bhagavan sighs. I'm going to do a bit of editing as we go. Bhagavan sighs and motions for the attendant to leave the room. The attendant, who also seemed moved for some perplexing reason, bows and makes his exit. So this young man can feel something is a bit special, but he doesn't know what it is. Because normally, Bhagavan always has at least one attendant to prevent anybody attacking him or touching him or interfering with him. So there's always at least one guy taking care of Bhagavan, and usually several people. And they did have people who would come and create some kind of drama, you see. Anyway, Bhagavan clears the hall completely. There's only the young man and him left in the hall. And Bhagavan then says to him, that attitude must go. I cannot be lost. And the young man said, I do not understand. Bhagavan says, the discarding of this body, striking himself on the right-hand side, this side, is inevitable. The real Bhagavan, he was starting to explain who is the real Bhagavan. But what his next words were, I never managed to find out. The next thing I remember was Bhagavan waving his palm in a dismissive gesture towards the door. Bhagavan was saying, there's nothing, there's nothing. So some people could feel something was going on and they were trying to get in the door, you see. And Bhagavan was saying, there's nothing happening here, you can go out. No problem, because maybe his attendant was nervous. The disappearance of a few heads that were framed between door and doorway, and the shutting of the door. I imagine that I must have screamed or struck the wall with my fist or banged my head against the floor or some such thing. I do not remember what I did. So in this very energetic moment, when Bhagavan challenged him to see that he was attached to something, Bhagavan's body, which was not the true Bhagavan. And somehow in that moment, this young man understood, and he completely disappeared, you can say. And this noise, maybe he made some kind of scream, and then the attendant came in because he was worried that Bhagavan maybe not okay, with a big scream going on. But anyway, Bhagavan told them to go out, nothing is happening. And then my bare body and clothes were covered in a huge mass of vomit. I could not lift my head off the floor. My body was paralyzed. Bhagavan's voice was gently saying something. The ears heard, but the brain did not process the signals. Minutes later, Bhagavan's compassionate face loomed over mine. He was squatting on the floor. He never squatted on the floor. He was squatting on the floor and cleaning my body with a white rag and water from an earthen pitcher. I was horrified to have him attend upon me, but I could not move. Minutes later, he pressed his head down on my chest and the body became relaxed. The hard breathing ceased. I sat up and said, I had a dream in which Bhagavan was saying, but the same room surely. So what he was started to say was all kind of gibberish. Bhagavan motioned me to stop talking. And then Bhagavan said, you've been wanting to ask me something. You may ask. So Bhagavan, of course, had the ability to know what everybody was thinking. Maybe you don't all know this, but if somebody is very empty, they have the ability to absolutely hear your thoughts. Hear your thoughts, you see. I don't quite have that. I would say I half have that. So I don't know exactly what you're thinking, but I know the energy of what you're thinking. I was at eye level with him, both of us seated cross-legged on the floor. I could not help observing that despite the condition of his legs, he had somehow achieved this posture. He'd never sat on the floor. He sat on a kind of couch. He repeated what he had said. I hesitated. He said the same thing for the third time. You've been wanting to ask me something. You may ask. Tears steadily trickled down my cheeks, face contorted with uncontrollable emotions. I managed to unintelligently, I thought, say the words at last. My body was raked with sobs. Twitching like a fish taken out of water, I stood up and said, may I call you Father just once? My body was raked with sobs, twitching like a fish taken out of water. Sorry, that's a bit of editing needed there. Okay. He stood up and said, are you going to be satisfied after calling me just once? I fell headlong at his feet, washed his feet with my tears, clutched tightly with my hands tied around his feet, pressed my cheek firmly against his feet and shout, "Father, Father, Father." Then again, I remember no more. I wake up at the Tirumalai railway station. 5 persons from the ashram are supporting me on all sides, standing around me. The ashram manager counts among their numbers. That means that Bhagavan asked the manager to make sure he got on the train okay. I'm curiously entrained. A small paper parcel containing some puffed rice mixed with roasted peanuts is thrust at me through the window of the train. The train starts and I pass into a blissful slumber. Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm sure half of you think I'm crazy, but never mind. And the ones who maybe understand what I've been reading, this is how you become self-realized. You don't become self-realized by reading books. You don't come to be self-realized by a lot of thinking, figuring it all out. The way you become self-realized, and I'm very sorry I never actually say this, is to have a spiritual teacher who is already self-realized, and you have to then devote yourself to that person, and in the right moment, he will create something like Bhagwan created for this man. You see, it's an energetic happening. It's an energetic happening. So I spent 5 years with my last teacher, who I would call a master. And with this master, it was very common in his meetings that people would have something happen like this man had happened. You see, they would come to the front of the meeting, they would have some kind of question, and this man who had a great energetic field around him would kind of play with the question, you see. I also had this. I had this happen to me. I came in front, actually it was the 3rd time I came in front of the meeting. And in this case, I had rather clever question. And immediately, because we already had some kind of connection, I'd been about 3 or 4 weeks at that time with this man. So he challenged me. He took something out of my letter and he challenged me and he said, "Did you read this in a book?" And I said, "No." And then exactly in that moment, I disappeared. Exactly like I've just been reading, I disappeared. And when I looked inside, everything was white. Maybe you've been out in a snowstorm, maybe, I don't know, when the ground is white and the sky is white and you walk along and everything seems to be white. So in that moment, I looked inside, everything was white. That was the end of John David. Happened in I think it was 1992. I don't remember really, but anyway, about then, you see. That's how you become self-realized. And so that lady who's planning to go and do a course to learn about something, it's completely a sabotage, darling. It's completely a sabotage. Please come and visit me and I'll tell you to your face. You made a big mistake. You never talked to me about it. You have no idea probably about your situation. But I'm talking to a woman on this meeting tonight who has tremendous potential to wake up. And as I understand it, you want to wake up. You're already a therapist, probably a very good one. You don't need a new training. That's just a wrong idea, in my opinion. Of course, if you want to do it, you can do it. Don't mind what you do. You're free to do as you like in your life. But I think at least you should come and talk to me. And thank you very much for the beautiful emails telling me all the good things you've got here in the last 2 years. But actually, I'm sorry to tell you, this is only the beginning for you. I know you very well. I don't talk to you very much, but I know you very well. You have some big stuff inside which we can get rid of for you. We can help you get rid of. So it's not the right moment to leave. You can leave if you want. I don't mind. You know, it's your life. And maybe it'll be a wonderful training and you'll learn all kind of new wonderful things. But you won't be learning the thing that you really want. You've told me many times what you really want. You wrote it in this letter even. Ha ha ha. I couldn't believe when I read this in the letter. And you wrote this at the end of the letter, what you really want. And then you told me I'm going to go and do this training. Goodbye. Maybe I'll come one weekend sometime. Okay, so I think let's have a little moment of quiet. And then if somebody would like to talk about this, I'm trying to dialogue with you. So let's just close our eyes for 2 or 3 moments. Okay, so you can open your eyes and come back in the meeting. So, if anybody would like to have a dialogue with me, I'll try to answer any points that weren't very clear. Anybody like to? Okay, Nicole. Okay. Maybe your
Yeah.
sound is not.
Yeah,
Okay, now
it's
it's
working
working.
now? Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, I just want to share that I'm very, very touched by this reading of yours. I really had to start crying because it was so heartful, and also to experience you in this moment, very touched. And it's very magical for me because before this meeting, I wanted to ask you if you could please talk about the relationship of master, of teacher and student. And you did this in such a touching way. Yeah.
I mean, this was a very honest meeting. I'm not usually getting quite so emotional. I'm not usually crying. Just before this meeting, you know, I have these two 8-year-old daughters, and one of them decided she would like to see her birthday film. So we were watching together her birthday film for the
Wow.
last year of her life or their lives. And there was some film of her in the kindergarten. You know, she left the kindergarten. Now she's in a school. And when she saw the pictures of herself in the kindergarten, she started crying. And I said,
Mhm.
"Well, why are you crying?" She said, "Oh, I can't actually, I don't remember what she said, but she basically said, well, you know, I miss the kindergarten, or I like the kindergarten, or there was some memory about the kindergarten." Um, so, you know, the most important things in the spiritual world is not reading books. It's probably more important to cry. First, you can cry out all the nightmares you've got inside you that have been put there by people who said they loved you but didn't understand what it was. And then from the society who has a vested interest in making you into an organic robot. And then when you've cried out all that, you're then ready to explode like this man, Gatapati did. I mean, this material which he was writing every night, right? It's about 1,000 pages of pure treasures, pure spiritual treasure. Because this Ramana Maharshi, in those days, he was only 56. This is in 1936. He was about 55, 56, very powerful, very energetic. And so this man recorded all these teachings for 6 months, amazing teachings, because so many people were coming to talk to him from around the world. You can imagine in 1936 coming from Europe to India to a small town. And actually, they used to call it a jungle hermitage. They were all living in bamboo huts in the jungle. So these people that got there were not ordinary people, you see. These were the really amazing spiritual seekers from 1936, you see. There was one man called Major Chadwick who'd been in the First World War, an English army officer. When he heard about Ramana Maharshi from this book in what was it? uh, what was the name of the book? Anyway, something about secret India. I can't remember. Journey in Secret India, maybe. And in this book, he'd written about meeting Ramana Maharshi in very positive terms. He wrote in this book. So many people, when they read this, had to come and meet him. And one of them was this Major Chadwick, a big man, ex-army officer. He came to the ashram in 1935 and he stayed in the ashram for the rest of his life until 1962 when he died. And he's now buried in the ashram, you see. Total surrender. And this, of course, can, for some people listening tonight, some of you may be very scary, you know, very scary, because actually this is very scary, you can say. Very scary, because actually self-realization means the end of somebody. Actually, there never was anybody. What do you call Nicole? There never was anybody Nicole. But everybody's been telling you you're somebody called Nicole for 50 years or 30 years or how old you are. And you just had to buy the story, because how could you know any difference? You see? And the beautiful thing is that, as I think I said the other day in a meeting, we're all the same. We're all one. Our essence is the same. Everybody on this meeting tonight is the same. Your essence is the same. And then on top of this essence, you have a character. And this character has been created out of your family, out of your culture, maybe out of your religion, out of those kind of things, plus your family. This has created your character and your personality, which goes on top of who you really are. And we all need a character and a personality, because we're all busy every day in an enormous theater. You know, what all this humanity is doing on planet Earth is a theater. It's like a big theater. And we all got very important jobs, or we think we've got very important jobs. And if we haven't got an important job, we're looking for an important job, blah, 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 you see. But our essence is very simple. You see. Anyway, I'm not surprised you were touched. And I need to tell you that you probably won't be able to you probably won't be able to leave this house. Yeah, you can laugh now, but you wait till the end of the week. It'll be very hard for you to leave. Okay. The beginning of this year, we had a transformation week, and at the end of the week, 2 people couldn't leave, and they're actually on this Zoom tonight. One is Ananda down at the bottom there, and the other is, where is he? Can't see him, the other one. Anyway, he's Arjuna, who is running the guest house now. Maybe you've met him. Oh, there he is. There's Arjuna up there. Can you wave, Arjuna? Okay, where's Nanda gone? Where is she? She can also wave, maybe. She's not in the screen now. Okay, anyway, Ananda, you can also wave, and then you can meet all these people, and then you tell them how you couldn't leave and why it wasn't such a bad decision. Okay. Anybody else like to respond to my talk?
Hello?
Hello, Pavati.
Yeah. Also, when you were reading, I'm still, the energy is so strong, and most this totality, the totality, that there's no space for anything else. This is what really shakes my whole system in the moment, which came through your reading and amazing. Yeah, that's it. I would like to share.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, very nice. And Pavati came to our community, what, about 10 years ago?
15.
15 years ago. Wow, amazing. Yeah? She came 15 years ago, and she becomes younger and younger. She came as an old lady out of a sort of broken marriage, and being a good housewife for many years, and now she gets younger and younger in this 15 years, I would say. She has a few aches and pains because she's a bit older, but basically she becomes younger and younger, and she's the cook of the community. So she's regularly cooking for many people. We have many seminars and so on. She cooks up for up to 50 people with a little bit of help. And at the moment, she's living in the community in Spain. And those of you who are coming to our celebration down there in about I think it's about 10 days' time. She'll be there cooking for us. So, yeah, thank you for your words. Okay, Kieran, he's also down in Spain. He's been one of the 2 or 3 people who have been renovating that property, which we're opening on not next weekend. Is it next weekend? No, 10 days time. We're opening up this community, and Kieran, as you see, looks a bit tired. He's been hardworking, and right now he's preparing for a flood tonight. Is that right?
I just wanted to connect because it was very strong and I don't really have words. And what just is coming now is whatever you, yeah, so difficult to say. It is more.
Maybe I can talk. So Kieran came to us how many years ago? 10
8.
years? 8 years. Okay, he's a kind of new boy. 8 years. And when he came, he was one of these men who are very caught up in their minds, terribly caught up in his mind. Nice guy, but incredibly caught up in his mind and very judgmental against himself, painfully to listen to him. So he didn't seem to be necessarily the best person to live in our community. But here he is, 8 years later, amazing guy who actually is a musician, but in surrender to John David and the community, he's become one of the main construction and handyman who's been renovating this place in Spain, you see. And I can say that probably every night for the last 1.5, 2 years, he's written me an email and I've answered his email, and maybe we've talked on the phone about different construction stuff, because we think 55 years ago I was an architect, and so I still seem to remember different aspects of construction and stuff. So I'm giving some kind of I don't know what he would call it. He probably thinks I'm dominating old shit or something, but I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much, Kieran. Thank you. Is anybody upset from my talk? Maybe somebody got a bit upset or a bit scary. Maybe one of the new people I don't know so well. Mies got upset. Okay, let's talk to her. Mies from Holland, I think. I don't hear you, Mies. Sorry, I don't hear you.
Now? Do you
Yeah,
hear
now
me now?
I hear you now.
Everybody is
Yeah.
hearing me now.
Everybody hears you now. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me laughing when you ask, like, does it make somebody upset? Maybe the new people? And then there's something in me, like, think, yeah, I'm new, but it's like, is it normal that people can get upset? Because it's also quite funny. Like, what is upset? What do you mean with this question?
Well, I mean, darling, that most people on this screen tonight are quite minded people who actually believes that they are their mind and their body. And therefore, one
Yeah,
of those people could be getting upset, especially if you've never met me before. Because probably tonight I come over as a sort of mad guy, mad old guy.
yeah, and I was a feeling in my stomach, but there was something that is noticing it's not you. It's like something, an energy in me, like maybe from the past, or I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it's not interesting enough to think about, but yeah. So I don't know what to say more about it. But there's already knowing that I'm not there. But that's also with the mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know you very well because you're completely new. I know you only from 2 days or something. But I mean, you
Yeah.
seem to be very sensitive. And so maybe you've had some kind of experience along the lines of what I was talking about tonight, which maybe didn't last so long because maybe you haven't really prepared yourself ready for receiving that kind of strong energy, because what I was expressing is actually a very strong energy, and we have to prepare our body to deal with that amount of energy. So, quite a lot of people have what I would call a glimpse. So, a glimpse is something that is not really so different from what I've been describing tonight, but it only lasts for a short time, minutes, seconds, days, maybe a month or two, and then it disappears because we come back into our normal patterns of thinking. So maybe you've had this kind of experience. I don't know.
Oh, I know. I know that it's likely that, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's like how to make, but now it's gonna be very practical. I don't know that's the way that I wanna go, but it's like how to make the shift that it's not from the mind, because it's totally not new what you're telling me or how you're acting, like to go very hard and then soft and then jokes. Like I follow that, like it's also needed, but I cannot feel it.
Okay. Well, let's see what you're
I
here
am
for.
clear or not? I'm clear enough or not? Or is blah blah blah?
No, well, you're not so clear, but you're not so blah blah. You're in the middle, I think, between blah blah and clear. And
Uh,
you're living in the house at the moment for the rest of the week, so probably you'll
no, no, no.
find.
Wait. I'm going tomorrow.
Oh, you're leaving tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that makes the conversation more clear.
Okay. Well, I'm a bit surprised you're leaving tomorrow because it's a week's program. Why do you leave tomorrow?
It's a very strong feeling,
Okay.
and I know already maybe what I can respond now, because it's like maybe the sabotation or something. But it's I am aware of that. So yeah, I cannot explain it. I feel
No,
not yet. Maybe.
you probably can't explain it because you probably don't know yourself well enough to explain it. And probably I would say some kind of fear is working inside you.
Mhm.
So it's okay, you can leave, but I think you're sabotaging yourself by leaving
Mhm. Yeah,
because
I know.
as I remember, you came here in rather a sort of destiny style way because you met in fact Ananda in the street in Holland, and you somehow
Mhm.
connected together, and then you came to
Mhm.
visit us, and now you've come back for this 1 week program. So maybe tonight you can a bit look at whether you in fact are sabotaging yourself by leaving, because probably you are a rather sensitive person, and there can be fear, I would say. Fear is very common when we feel a real love, not the romantic type love, but when we feel a deeper love, often it's connects to fear.
Yes, I understand. But
But I
that's not
don't.
the reason that I'm leaving.
Okay, good, good. So
Yeah.
anyway, I can say goodbye. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So looking at the gallery, would anybody else like to? We've probably got time for two more people. Okay. Saraswati's yawning, so she's probably not very interested. You want to talk, Siddha? Okay, let's try Siddha. Okay.
I was also very touched of the story you told. Then a question arises in me, since we are already talking about energy. Is it the same energy field? I've heard that if someone realizes in front of a master, he attains the same energy field. And do you have the same energy field of Papaji or and Ramana Maharshi, or how does that work?
Well, I can't tell you that. I don't know. My guess is that there isn't a Papaji energy and a Ramana Maharshi energy. As I've been saying, we all have the same energy. Deep down, our being is the same energy field. We're all part of that energy field, which can be called the divine intelligence. And in the past, people call it God. So we're all one with that, actually. We're not separate from that.
Mm.
So I don't think there's a Papaji energy field and a John David energy field. I doubt that, but I don't have any way of knowing that.
Yeah, because I was with Vishran talking, and he was saying he has the same energy field as Osho. So I was thinking you might have the same energy field like Papaji, and that's in that
Sorry,
case.
who has the same energy as Osho?
Vishrant, Prem Vishrant.
Who is that?
Vishrant, we've talked actually personally about this. He's in Australia, in Perth. He was
Okay.
also shortly at Papaji.
Okay.
You know him actually. You told me that, but maybe you
Okay.
Vishrant. I don't know if it's getting.
I don't know. I don't keep those kind of things in my mind. If I met him tomorrow, I can say I know you, but I don't know it. I don't know him by
Okay.
name, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I would suggest you're a bit careful to believe this kind of story. Actually, when he tells you he's got Osho's energy, you know, I was with energy. I was with Osho for 15 years. I would never say that. I was with Papaji for 5 years, and I would never say that.
Yeah,
But if
I'm
he
not
wants to
sure.
say
Yeah.
it, he can say it, you know. But maybe you don't need to believe him, you know.
No, no, he has the same eyes like Osho actually. If you look into his eyes, it's a resemblance there. It's very funny. I think you know
Okay.
him, but maybe you don't remember now.
If you've got a photo, you can show me a photo, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Anyway, I'm glad you were touched. Very good. Yeah. Anybody else touched? Like to express their touchiness? Okay, Jokam.
Yes. So yeah, I was also touched by the story, and especially the part of when you said the devotion, and when he was holding his feet and putting his head against his feet, and then screaming, "Father, Father," also reminded me that the same devotion to the mother saying to life itself is also needed to, and the same surrender is also needed to, yeah, to life itself, to all the things that come to you in life, that we also need to surrender to that, to yeah, experience the fullness of life. And you can say that is the moment. So experience and devotion to the moment itself, every second.
Right, right.
So
Good.
that was for me, yeah, what reminded me also in the story.
Right, right. I mean, I was told that you have some interest to come with us to India. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right. So I've been running the retreat in India, for the last 22 years, every year. Destiny brought me the use of a small ashram, quite a modern little ashram, a 10-minute walk from Ramana Maharshi's ashram at the foot of this mountain, Arunachala. So it's a very spiritual,
Yeah.
beautiful place. And we have a group of Indian ladies who live in the village behind the ashram who've been cooking for us, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, I think, the same group. They come every year, just very ordinary ladies from the village, but they somehow love coming, and we love having them. And they cook lunch every day because we have a meeting in the morning. And
Yes.
just today, I was told that the main cook this year is going to be a woman who, when I first met her 20 years ago, was, I would say, as beautiful as any one of these fashion models, you know, these supermodels, they call them.
Yeah.
She was so beautiful, I couldn't believe. She was married to a rickshaw driver living in a village in a tiny little house, not even a house really, just two small rooms. And she's been working in this ashram for 20 years, and she always looks after us when we come. She does our washing, and now this year she's going to do our cooking. Wonderful
Yes.
woman, wonderful woman. She has two children, and sadly, about 18 years ago, I never found out why, but her husband died suddenly. And in India, a woman like that, even as beautiful as she was, not only beautiful by looking, but also she has a beautiful presence. So if you come to India, you'll meet her. And so unfortunately in India, a woman like that can't remarry, you see. It's very sad. Nobody would marry her. So I hope she's had a few lovers along the way, but that's also not very easy for a woman. So probably, you know, even this incredibly beautiful woman with a beautiful heart, beautiful being, uh, she could probably not really share that much with other people because in India there are many codes of behavior, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, I hope you can make it to India. You'll enjoy.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Yeah. And if you have a money issue, talk to Indira because we can do a special program of payment for you if that helps.
Yeah, okay. I'll talk about it.
Okay, so let's talk to Apsara. Getting very noisy tonight. Are you there, Apsara? Okay.
Um,
I can't hear you. You have to put your sound on.
you hear me now? No?
Yeah, yeah. Now it's
Yeah,
okay.
this is not related with what you read because my English, as you know, is not super good, so I get lost in some parts of the story, but it was very nice to see you emotional and vulnerable, and that really touched me. And there are two things that uh, I wanna share. And the first one is that you mentioned about the death. And today I had a strong moment in the morning. I was on my own for so long while cleaning, and I was paralyzed for a long time with this fear of the death. And this is not the first time that this is happening to me since I'm in contact with the community. So I don't know if it's a part of me is really dying and I am in fear and because, you know, I never have this strong fear and constantly thinking about how it's going to be that moment.
Well, you could understand from what I've been reading. I mean, maybe you didn't understand it. We can give you a copy if you'd like to read it. But anyway, what Bhagwan was saying, because this young man, you see, was very devoted to Bhagwan, and the day before he got in touch with the fact that he was leaving the next day, one more day, and he got in touch with the fact that the worst thing that could happen for him was that Bhagwan would die. And Bhagavan was 56 then. He didn't die for another 15 years, actually, right? But the fear of him dying made him very upset, you see, because he was very devoted to that man. And Bhagwan answered him by saying, you know, who do you think I am, you see? And of course, he, in that 6 months, being a young guy, he'd become identified with him as a person. He thought he was a person, and a person who's going to die, because every person dies. Have you ever met anybody who didn't die? And you can't meet them. They die, you know, and they've you know, anyway, they disappear, these people who die. But everybody dies. Yeah. So anyway, but that is not the death of you see. This is the point. If you identify with your body and mind, then that will die. But if you identify with what is really true, this never dies. And so when Bhagwan left his body in 1950, his ashram became empty for about 20 years. The people who knew him were too sad to come there. They didn't want to come there and when he wasn't there anymore. And the new people were not attractive because they couldn't connect to buildings and shrines and things like that. So basically the place was empty for a long time. But now, let's say, how many years is it? 50, it's about 80 years, about 75, 80 years later, this ashram has become one of the spiritual centers of the world, full of Indian people, full of Western people. And of course, when people come there, they experience, the ones who are sensitive enough or ready enough, when they come to the ashram, they feel a tremendous connection with Ramana Maharshi, you see. This is probably the reason why I take my students every year there, because of course I then encourage them to spend time in the ashram, and many people then have a strong experience of Ramana Maharshi, you see. So he never left, you see. Just in about 1948 or 47, he got a cancer on his left arm, and for some time he allowed different doctors to try to heal this cancer. And finally the doctors said, well, actually, we can't heal it. The only way we could deal with it would be to cut off your arm. Then you would live longer. And he didn't want to have his arm cut off, so he accepted his physical death. And then his students were very sad about that, like this young man. And he said, where could I go? Where could I go? So your fear of death is because you're identified with your body, actually. You're you're a bit of a person who has a lot of sort of emotional issues in her life. And you're always talking about somebody, you know, somebody called mommy, or somebody called my son, or somebody called something else. All these people in your life who cause you non-stop drama. The drama is actually your drama. It's not really their drama. You think it's their drama, but actually it's your drama. You even made a huge drama about me, you see, because you don't really understand. In my retreat, you spent 2 weeks in my retreat, and during my retreat, you did understand. You did understand, because actually you're a very sensitive woman, and everybody in this community likes you very much, including my daughters. They all love you a lot because you're a very sweet woman. But for whatever reason, you are very identified with all kinds of dramas, you see. And therefore, while you stay identified with all those dramas, your life will never really be the life that you really want. Sorry.
Yeah, and another question is, when you asked me about the meditation, I told you that I have a lot of noise and sometimes I feel like driving crazy, and you told me I'm not normal. And actually, I think I'm not normal. And that's, for me, is like a compliment. So what is normal for you? What
I
is
don't
being
know.
normal?
I can't answer that question. I mean, what does it mean normal? I mean, I would say for me, 99% of humanity are normal. They're all identified with their body and mind. They all believe themselves to be a somebody, and they all believe that I'm doing my life, you see? And you are like, you're a bit like dancing into that. You're dancing into the 99%. And also, I think you've had some moments when you were out of the 99% and you were having some deeper experience of yourself. So you have a bit of a foot in both sides of it. You're a bit
Absolutely.
more identified with being a somebody, but you, I think, have had experiences where you were a nobody. Yeah, I think so. I don't know really, but probably. And if you remember how you were treating me a few months ago, this is the kind of, unfortunately, the kind of, what's the right word? I don't know, sad misunderstanding, I could say. And if you remember, 2 or 3 of my students wrote to you to say you're completely wrong, you completely misunderstand something, but in your arrogance, you couldn't listen to them, you see. So, so the reason you're here in the house with me now is due to something that you're not so connected with. And this is probably to do with your being. So you have a beautiful being, maybe. I don't know you so well, but you probably have a very beautiful being. And you have a horrible, toxic mind, which loves drama and emotion and all that stuff. And while you like all that, and in a way you look for that, you did it with me. You know, you came and visited me, and my kids completely loved you. You spent a night with them. It was very sweet. You were lovely. And then you got into a big story about John David, and then you weren't going to meet me ever again, and I was a terrible person, and how would you ever get involved with somebody like me, and blah blah blah. And now you're here. So how did you get to be here with all your judgments? You know. And probably by the end of this week, you will actually discover that you completely love me, but not in the way of I love you, but you have a deeper love for me, which you maybe are not so clear about. Maybe by the end of this week, you'll have a clearer understanding of that. And so when you're cleaning a room in the guest house and feeling about death, I would say that's very positive, very positive. Because death is an issue, you see, but it's not death of your body. You're not going to die tomorrow, probably. It's not about your body. It's about all this bullshit, which has to die because anyway, it never lived. You only believe it lives. It's just an idea you have. All this dramas about everybody in your life, you know, that you can constantly stirring up all these dramas, and you believe in all that. And there'll come a day, maybe, when you realize what a load of old rubbish it was. And you'll just stop in that moment. And when you left, when you came to that retreat, and at the end of that retreat, you were sort of ready for that. But I think you went home and you quickly jumped back into your old life and your old ideas and blah, blah, blah. And then you included me in all that. But I was never a part of your drama, actually.
Thank you. And I still love you.
You still love me? What do you mean you still love me? You loved me before when you were being so terrible?
Yeah.
Aha. It's a kind of funny love, I would say. But anyway. Okay. So it's a bit, we're in overtime now. Anybody else feel they'd like to have a quick talk? It's 10 o'clock now. And next Tuesday, I'll be traveling on the plane to Spain for this celebration weekend. So I won't be available to do a meeting. But if you want to have another meeting on Friday this week, here in our house in Germany, I will be doing a public meeting, and you can come into that meeting. If you look you look somewhere, I don't know, you can ask Ohm, he's our tech wizard. You can come into that meeting like you come into this meeting from your own computer. And I think you can do that through the X platform or YouTube platform, Facebook platform, Instagram platform. I think we're connecting with 4 different platforms in which you can come through into this meeting on Friday. And this is a live meeting, public meeting in the house here. Okay, so wow, well, what to say? I wasn't planning this kind of meeting tonight. I already sent another text. You all probably saw this other text. And funnily enough, we've just made a short 2-minute film about this subject of the master's energy field. So if you go on my website and you go to Satsang, then you go down to videos, you can find about 15 or 20 small 2-minute videos. And the one we posted, is it posted? Has it been posted? Yeah, okay, Carly says it's been posted. So this film has been posted yesterday, so you can watch it. And it's quite a strong film because it includes Ramana Maharshi and Papaji. And I talk about the energy field that's around John David. And I make a rather interesting point, which is I have no idea about this energy. I have no idea. Here where you go. And here's the, well, maybe we play it. Let's play it. It's only 2 minutes, yeah? You like to watch this film? Let's play it. We're going to make it full screen. 2-minute film about what we've been talking tonight. Can you make it bigger? Can you make it bigger, or is it that? Okay. Okay, so start in the beginning, please. So, yeah. So we're starting with Radha, who's also been living about 10 years, and she's developing now as a Tantra teacher. And her Tantra workshops are very, very good because she's starting from touch. Tantra for her is about touch. Come and do her weekend. Very good. Okay, go ahead.
There was some kind of happening in your life. And now you understand who you are. Is that right?
I mean, there was a clear moment to see what I'm not.
You don't know who you are, but you know who you're not. What is it that causes a lot of smiling and laughing, actually?
I don't know.
The guru has several different tasks, yeah? But I would say probably the most important task is that he's able to touch you in a very deep way. And what is that? It's some kind of energy. It's some kind of energy, and this energy is very, very important. A few people have kind of thanked me for this kind of radiating energy that goes on around John David. But the truth is, maybe this is a bit funny for you, but the truth is I have no idea about that. I just think I'm a funny old English guy, and I have no clue about this energy field around me. This is all happening in the nature. You see, this is all some natural phenomena. It's our being, not our mind. And what Ramana is saying is that even if you don't really have an awareness about what we're talking, this energy field is anyway working. And this is a very beautiful thing. There is a process happening in a very subtle way. It all merely happens by the power of the presence. The power of the presence, you see. Papaji, in the last few years of his life, when he was in his 80s, he realized that the only thing he had to do was to show up physically in the meeting. And the energy field around Papaji was enormous. And this energy field would reach out into the crowd, maybe 100 people, and maybe somebody would get touched and come to the front and sit with Papaji. And then very often something would happen and that person would kind of explode. Good, good. Okay, thank you very much. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time on Zoom. And on Friday, if you live near where we're living near Cologne, you can come and meet us in a public meeting, or you can connect to Om and he will tell you how you can do it from your house if you'd like to do that. Okay.